Alright, so I'm getting the hang of this. For the past 12 weeks, I've been using my understanding of learning science to try and get as good at this video game as I possibly can. It's time to turn the dial back down from try-hard to casual, but first I'm going to talk about exactly what I did and how I think it went, as well as where I'm going to try and go from here. So first let's talk about some numbers, because I kept track of all this stuff and I'm going to make someone else look at it. 12 weeks is 84 days, and of those I missed 20, meaning that I had 64 practice sessions, 49 of which I considered good sessions. I played Pac-Man for the first 15 sessions, then I switched to Simon, who I used for the remaining 49 days. I practiced for a total of 85 hours and 40 minutes, which averaged out to just over 7 hours every week. I spent 18 hours and 40 minutes with Pac-Man and the remaining 67 hours with Simon. In that time I had 4 coaching sessions, usually between 30 to 60 minutes long. I used quick play as a measure of progress, meaning that after a practice session I'd play some matches to see how I could apply what I'd been working on against opponents who are theoretically at around my level of skill. Quick aside, quick play definitely has its problems, from iffy matchmaking to connection issues to straight up trolls and degenerates. Yeah, sometimes I'd have to play against kids with tags like Piss Boy who teabag furiously after every stock and be forced to wonder why I'm taking this whole thing so seriously. But I found it useful to play a lot of opponents quickly to get a sense of what was working and what I needed to practice more. I did do some arenas, usually against much better players who were kind enough to give me some advice here and there, but that was part of the practice rather than part of the measure. So, here's some quick play stats. I played 533 total matches, 449 of them with Simon. My total win-loss record was 274 to 259, which is just over a 500 average. In and of itself, that's just alright, but if you track that record over time, you'll see that actual progress was made. At my worst, I was only winning around 12% of my matches. This chart just shows my record with Simon, by the way. Just for fun, here's a little info on the characters I played against. The 5 characters I fought most often were Mario, Captain Falcon, Cloud, Donkey Kong, and Ness. There were a handful of characters I never even played once. I also never met another Simon. I did best against Lucas and Roy. I did worst against Kirby and Cloud. Also, for what it's worth, Captain Falcon and Falco players are hands down my favorite to fight. My least favorite had to be either Joker or Jigglypuff. One thing I want to point out is that this was never really deliberate practice in the strictest sense. I don't actually have the resources for that. True deliberate practice is a privilege I can't afford. The investment is mostly in time, but also in money and in the right people. I had some good coaching and found some good communities, but I can't afford to hire an expert coach to meet with on a regular basis, and I wasn't about to ask someone to do it for free. Real deliberate practice really only applies to skills that have a path to mastery that's been laid out and followed many times over. Smash has been around for 20 years, but most, if not all of the game's top players got there in their own different ways. Master chess players and violinists, for example, have a greater tradition of practice they can follow, even if it's only because those skills have been around for a lot longer. Smash may get there someday, but it's not there yet. If I had to do this all over again, or maybe when I do it again, I would try to get more coaching. It can't be overstated how much feedback helps when you're learning anything. In the end, though the quality of practice method is important to developing skill, there's still no such thing as a shortcut. You can have the most perfect training routine ever conceived with the full support system, but you still have to put in the time. The biggest struggle I had in this was picking an end date. As much as I love the idea of skill mastery, I've got too much going on to be able to put in the amount of work required to truly become an expert in anything. As glad as I am to have done this experiment, knowing that it was going to end made the whole thing seem kind of pointless at times. I just can't prioritize the game the way I would need to in order to get as skilled as I'd like to be. The most positive I can be about it is to say that the experiment isn't over, just the most intense part of it. The goal now, as I shift focus back toward other things, is to find a way to fold practice and play back into my life in a way that allows me to continue to improve, even if it's more slowly. For anyone who's actually sat through all of these videos, if you walk away from this with anything, I hope you understand now that the barrier between who you are and who you want to be isn't as insurmountable as it feels sometimes. There's no such thing as not being cut out for something. Since I was a kid, I thought I was just bad at fighting games, and that was it. All it took was 12 weeks to take something that I thought was an absolute fact about myself and make it untrue. And now I look back at all the things I've always sucked at, like math or music, and I understand that none of it is set in stone. I can change it if I want to. You can change it. It just takes a lot of time and effort, but you can take any limit that you think you have, anything that you think you're just never gonna get, anything you think you'll never be good at, and you can learn it. To put it more succinctly,
dude, sucking at something is the first step towards being sorta good at something.